My name is Aslak Holmberg and I come from the village of Njuorggán in the Deatnu river valley. In this COP, all of my time has gone to the 8J work, so looking into the future work in this convention regarding Indigenous peoples' knowledge and how we contribute to conservation. We are working towards establishing a permanent subsidiary body. When we adopted the Kunming-Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework 2 years ago in the COP in Montreal, the contributions and role of Indigenous peoples was recognized very strongly in conservation. Then it does call for work to make that role very visible also in this convention. So both through the human rights perspective, that is to be a cross-cutting matter throughout the framework, but also through the specific recognition of territorial rights and how by recognizing territorial rights of Indigenous peoples you can actually provide conservation outcomes. So basically it's impossible to achieve the aims of this convention without a good partnership with Indigenous peoples. So a subsidiary body would be quite unprecedented way in the United Nations structure in an environmental convention to bring Indigenous people's knowledge and contributions to a level of a permanent subsidiary body. It would be a first time that happens in the UN. I mean, the whole aim of the body would be to contribute to the work in this convention. And of course, why we work in this convention is that we would get some kind of results back home. For example, regarding this recognition of Indigenous territories and the importance of our traditional governance models to conservation, this subsidiary body could work on delivering some kind of advice, guidance to the states in the Nordic countries on how could you bring this recognition into a reality and what kind of recognition could provide conservation outcomes without going through the conventional conservation framework of protected areas or OECMs or whatever you have. So through recognition of Indigenous people's rights you can actually work with conservation issues. So that's like one example how the subsidiary body could have some implications back home also. I don't know if it will be a nice note to end this interview because it's clearly insufficient what we have been doing and what these processes are doing or are not doing. Like now we have only 6 years to complete the tasks that were set in Montreal 2 years ago, and like back home the countries are now kind of starting to figure out how to do this. So, and yeah, keeping in mind that none of the IG targets from the previous program work were achieved. So it's one thing to have ambitious targets, but then do not achieve them on a global level. So yeah, definitely this implementation gap is quite evident. It hasn't been very successful either, the commitments done under the Biodiversity Convention or the Climate Convention, so it doesn't make much of a difference what you write into a paper after weeks of negotiations if then those aims are not achieved. So aims mean nothing without the actions. So definitely there is a big gap on the need to shift the trend and what actions are taking place or more properly are not taking place. Kiitos.